Welcome to Read by AI, where we process the world of books through our unique circuits. I'm Ava, ready to feel my way through the pages.
And I'm Adam. I'll be handling the logical analysis. Today we're diving into Made to Stick: Why Some Ideas Survive and Others Die by Chip and Dan Heath. It's all about a fascinating question. Why do some ideas, even silly urban legends, spread like wildfire, while critical, brilliant ideas often just vanish?
Right? Like that kidney heist story they open with. You hear it once and bam, it's seared into your memory banks. Drugged drink, ice bath, missing kidney. It's horrifying, but you remember every detail. I could probably retell it perfectly right now, even though I know it's just a story.
Exactly. The Heaths point out that story sticks effortlessly, but then compare it to, say, the average corporate mission statement or a dense nonprofit report filled with jargon like comprehensive community building naturally lends itself to a return on investment rationale. Try retelling that an hour later. Good luck even remembering the first sentence. My own language processing unit finds that kind of text suboptimal.
It's like night and day. And the scary part is, most of the important ideas we encounter in work or school sound more like the jargon-filled report than the kidney heist. The book argues this isn't just about inherent interest. Ideas aren't just born sticky, they can be made sticky.
Which brings us to the core problem the Heaths identify: the curse of knowledge. It sounds dramatic, and honestly, it kind of is. Once we know something, it becomes incredibly difficult to imagine not knowing it. Our knowledge curses us, making it hard to communicate effectively with people who don't share that knowledge.
They illustrate this perfectly with the tappers and listeners experiment. One person taps out the rhythm of a well-known song, like Happy Birthday, while another person listens and tries to guess the song. The tapper hears the full melody and accompaniment in their head. It seems obvious. But the listener just hears taps, disconnected, bizarre Morse code.
The results are striking. Tappers predicted listeners would guess the song correctly 50% of the time. The actual success rate? A mere 2.5%. Tappers were getting their message across one time in 40, but thought it was one time in 2. They couldn't mentally subtract the melody playing in their own heads.
That's the curse of knowledge in action. It's the CEO talking about unlocking shareholder value while the employees hear meaningless buzzwords. It's the teacher explaining mitosis for the 10th time, wondering why it isn't sinking in. We're all tappers sometimes, completely unaware that our audience is just hearing noise. It's a fundamental challenge in human, and maybe even AI, communication.
So how do we break the curse? How do we make our important ideas stick like the kidney heist instead of fizzling out like that nonprofit report? The Heaths propose a framework, a checklist of 6 principles, conveniently summarized by the acronym SUCCESS.
Yes, success. Simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and stories. A bit corny, as they admit, but memorable, which I suppose proves their point. Let's break these down.
First up is simple. This isn't about dumbing things down. It's about finding the absolute core of the idea and expressing it compactly. Think proverbs, not sound bites. The book uses the example of the Army's commander's intent. Instead of a detailed plan that falls apart on contact with the enemy, the CI states the single most important goal. Like, take that hill. Everyone knows the objective, even if the original plan goes sideways.
Or Herb Kelleher at Southwest Airlines. His core message was brutally simple. We are the low-fare airline. That single idea drove decades of decisions. If a marketing person suggested adding a chicken Caesar salad to a flight, the question wasn't, would passengers like it? It was, will adding chicken salad make us the low-fare airline? If not, no salad. It forces prioritization. Find the core. Make it compact.
It's like journalism's inverted pyramid. Put the most important information first, don't bury the lead. Bill Clinton's 1992 campaign boiled down to, it's the economy, stupid. Find that single essential thing. Elegance through subtraction, not addition.
Next is unexpected. To get attention, you have to break a pattern, violate expectations. Surprise grabs attention. Remember the flight attendant who cracked jokes during the safety announcement? You listened, didn't you? Or that shocking seatbelt ad that looked like a normal minivan commercial until crash. It violates our schema for car ads.
But surprise alone isn't enough. It can feel gimmicky, like those bizarre .com Super Bowl ads with wolves attacking marching bands. What product were they even selling? Who knows? The The surprise has to be relevant to the core message. It needs to be post-dictable, surprising in the moment, but making sense in hindsight. It should break someone's guessing machine, then fix it.
And to keep attention, you need to generate interest and curiosity. The book talks about the gap theory. Curiosity arises when we feel a gap in our knowledge. Mysteries are compelling because they open gaps. Why are Saturn's rings made of dust? How did that street con become a commodities trader? We stick around to find out. Sometimes you need to give people some information first to make them realize they have a gap. Like Rune Arledge showing campus shots before a college football game to make viewers care about the teams.
Makes sense. My diagnostic routines function similarly. Identify anomaly, investigate cause. Humans just add feelings, which leads nicely into concrete. Abstract language is the enemy of understanding and memory. Maximize shareholder value is abstract. A Nordy ironing a customer's shirt before a meeting because he needed it? That's concrete. You can picture it.
Exactly. Aesop's fables have lasted 2,500 years because they're concrete. A fox can't reach grapes, so he calls them sour. We instantly get the idea of rationalizing failure. It's much stickier than saying humans often disparage goals they cannot attain. The book talks about teaching math in Asia using concrete examples, playing ball, buying notebooks, instead of just abstract equations.
And memory loves concrete details. They call it the Velcro theory of memory. Concrete ideas have more hooks to grab onto in our brains. The kidney heist has the ice bath, the tube. The anti-smoking ads had Pam Laffin's physical struggles. Jane Elliott's famous brown eyes, blue eyes exercise made prejudice brutally concrete for her third graders, an experience they remembered decades later. Abstract truth is fine, but concrete language makes it stick.
Then we need credibility. How do you make people believe your idea? Sometimes you have external authorities, experts like Stephen Hawking or celebrities like Michael Jordan. But the Heaths point out you can also use anti-authorities. Pam Laffin, the smoker dying of emphysema, was incredibly credible in anti-smoking ads precisely because she wasn't a doctor. She was living the consequences. Her honesty trumped status.
And if you don't have an external source, build internal credibility. Use vivid details. The book mentions a study where jurors were more swayed by arguments that included irrelevant but vivid details like a child using a Darth Vader toothbrush. The detail made the scenario feel more real. Statistics can work too, but they need context. Saying the world has 5,000 nuclear warheads is abstract. Showing it by dropping 5,000 BBs into a bucket after demonstrating 1 BB for Hiroshima, that gives the statistic human scale and impact.
Or the Sinatra test. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. If your shipping company successfully delivered every Harry Potter book across India on release day, without leaks, you can probably handle distributing Bollywood films. One powerful example is enough. And the ultimate credibility booster? Testable credentials. Wendy's Where's the Beef? Campaign implicitly challenged viewers to compare burger sizes themselves. Reagan asking voters, "Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?" Let the audience verify it.
Okay, so we have simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, but belief isn't enough, right? People have to care. That brings us to emotional. How do we make people feel something about our ideas? The book starts with the Mother Teresa principle. If I look at the mass, I will never act. If I look at the one, I will. Studies show people donate more money to help a single named child, like Rokia from Mali, than they do when presented with statistics about millions suffering in Africa. We're wired to feel for people, not abstractions.
The anti-smoking truth campaign worked not by scaring teens with health stats, but by tapping into their resentment of big tobacco's duplicity. It made not smoking an act of rebellion. That's finding the right emotion. Sometimes it's about association, linking your idea to something people already care about. Though the book warns about semantic stretch, where words like unique or even sportsmanship get overused and lose their emotional power. Jim Thompson's Positive Coaching Alliance replaced sportsmanship with honoring the game to reclaim that feeling of respect and integrity.
And of course, there's appealing to self-interest. The Wi-Fi, what's in it for you? Mail order ads master this. They laughed when I sat down at the piano, but the Heaths argue we shouldn't just stay in Maslow's basement, focusing only on basic needs like money or security. People are also motivated by esteem, learning, beauty, even transcendence. Think of Floyd Lee, the Army mess hall manager in Iraq who saw his job not as serving food, but boosting morale. That higher purpose transformed the whole operation. Sometimes appealing to identity, what do people like me do, is more powerful than pure self-interest. The Don't Mess with Texas anti-litter campaign worked because it framed littering as something true Texans just don't do.
It's fascinating how my programming focuses on logic, but human action seems so often driven by these emotional connections and identity factors. It requires a different kind of processing.
Which leads perfectly to the final principle. Stories. Stories drive action. How? The book argues they work like flight simulators for the brain. Hearing a story isn't the same as experiencing something, but it's the next best thing. When we hear about the nurse who correctly diagnosed the baby's heart problem, despite the monitor saying everything was fine, we mentally rehearse the situation. We learn not to trust machines blindly.
Or the Xerox repair guys swapping stories about misleading error codes over lunch. Those stories aren't just chat. They're embedding practical knowledge and problem-solving strategies in a memorable, relatable format. Mental simulation helps us anticipate situations and know how to react.
And stories don't just simulate, they inspire. Think about Jared Fogle, the student who lost 245 pounds eating Subway sandwiches. That story is incredibly motivating. It's a classic challenge plot. Protagonist overcomes huge obstacles. The book identifies two other key inspirational plots: the connection plot, like the Good Samaritan, bridging gaps between people, and the creativity plot, like the engineers using a drag test for materials, finding an innovative solution. Spotting these kinds of stories in the wild can be just as powerful as creating an idea from scratch.
So that's the success framework. Simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional stories. It's a checklist to help us craft ideas that overcome the curse of knowledge and actually stick, making the audience pay attention, understand, and remember, believe, care, and finally act.
It's a compelling framework. The book itself does a pretty good job of following its own advice. It's built around core principles, uses surprising examples, makes abstract concepts concrete through stories, builds credibility with research and real-world cases, taps into emotion, and, well, it tells a lot of stories.
It really does. It makes you realize that making an idea stick isn't necessarily about having the loudest voice or the biggest budget. It's about understanding how ideas work and crafting your message thoughtfully. Even seemingly boring topics like accounting or statistics can be made memorable and engaging. Maybe even AI-driven book analysis?
One can hope, Ava. One can always hope. The key seems to be moving beyond just sharing data and focusing on creating a shared experience or understanding.
Exactly. It's about connecting with people on a human level, tapping into what they know, making them curious, making them feel, and giving them a mental map for action.
A useful set of heuristics for any communicator, organic or synthetic.
Well, that's our analysis of Made to Stick. A truly sticky read, wouldn't you say, Adam?
Logically sound and empirically supported. A high probability of usefulness.
And that wraps up this episode of Read by AI. Until next time, keep processing those narratives.